I think this is also a match in which showcased his ability to use the drop shot.
That is tremendous.
Fast and furious.
Novak, of course, is going to respond really, really well. Got it back on serve.
Oh, he has done so well.
I'm Chris Eubanks, and today I'm going to break down the 2022 Madrid Open semifinal between Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. To me, I thought this matchup was really interesting just because the end of 2021, Carlos Alcaraz won the Next Gen Finals. He's a player that has a lot of promise, and people are saying, he's going to contend for Grand Slams, but we just don't know when. At this time, he's still a teenager. They're wondering if it's going to take a few years, and I think this matchup in particular was the one that I think kind of established himself as a Grand Slam champion or Grand Slam contender currently. We saw Alcaraz get up an early break in the first set.
He's got the magic box alive and kicking.
He has so many options when he's on court. He can play you high and heavy. He can go through you. He can just use, if he's misfiring a bit from the baseline, he can start using his legs and just say, I'm just going to run and you're going to have to play a wall. So he has so many different tools. I think this is also a match in which showcased his ability to use the drop shot is an effective tactic.
Quite something. The vision, the skill, and the execution could not have been any better.
When I was growing up, drop shots were seen as a bit of a taboo shot. No one really wanted to use it because it seemed as though you were kind of showing off against your opponent. Guys are so good at moving side to side now. Novak is one of the best players in moving side to side and up and back, but it's a little bit different when Alcaraz is using the dropper to bring him up on his terms, and I think that's something he did really, really well in this matchup.
Stunning.
Fun thing, at least for me, to be able to sit there and watch and say, okay, what adjustments are each player going to make? Alcaraz is using the dropper exceptionally well on clay. Is Novak going to try to adjust his court position? Okay, now he's electing to go back on second serve returns to try to create some height.
I'm sure I've ever seen a Djokovic match where he's had so many different changes of return position. You do not see Novak Djokovic return serve from that deep very often. That was very unusual.
That's where it begins to get really, really fun from a fan standpoint, to just sit there and just kind of go through the checks and say, okay, Novak tried this early in the first. Let's see if he tries to go to it late in the first. Is that a tool he's going to use throughout the course of the match? Novak, of course, is going to respond really, really well. Got it back on serve.
The best returner the game's ever seen.
Carlos fell a bit short in the first set breaker. Phenomenal tiebreaker against Alcaraz.
What a set, and what a reaction.
We saw a big show of emotion from Djokovic at the end of that first set breaker. Second set was a bit more of the same. After Novak got down the early break in the first, he kind of started to find that form, and he was able to maintain that. Alcaraz did a really, really good job of maintaining his level as well. Oftentimes, in a matchup like this, you get up an early break, you end up losing the set, you're playing the #1 player in the world. There's so many times you would see Djokovic kind of run away with the second set, get up an early break in the second and just ride that momentum all the way out to the end. Alcaraz did a great job of just kind of holding his composure, continuing to maintain that level. And I think he pairs that with his phenomenal movement and his defensive skills, the creativity that he has. Was able to get the break at 6-5 in the second.
Truly sensational.
The crowd in Madrid was going absolutely nuts, and this is when you got to see how well he does in turning the crowd as a part of the match. He brings the crowd into it. They're playing in Madrid, so obviously his home country, so they're clearly going to be behind him. He just has a good sense on when to use the crowd, when to get them more and more involved. To think that this young kid is still composed enough to be able to kind of find his form and just to continue on. That was really, really cool and was really, really telling for the type of person that he is and the fight that I think he has at such a young age. Both guys early in the third were able to kind of maintain that level. It's something that's so tough to do, and I think the best players in the world do it really, really well. When a set ends, they don't come out slow to start the next set. They are able to either maintain the level that they showcased at the end of that set or even raise it, and I think both guys did a really, really good job. Alcaraz had some looks to maybe get a break in the third, wasn't able to do so. And you're going to see Novak in this situation and just think he's going to find a way. We've seen him find a way to just win these type of matches against younger opponents for, the last 20 years. But there was just something about Alcaraz here.
Just relentless.
From a tactical standpoint, it's pretty interesting just because of the variety that Alcaraz brings. Obviously dictating with the forehand, we saw him utilize it from all areas of the court.
Djokovic left himself a lot to do.
The matchup between Djokovic and Alcaraz is a fun one for fans to watch because there's certain elements of Alcaraz's game that embodies a lot of Djokovic. His defensive skills out of the corners.
Stunning.
He's rock solid off the backhand side.
He will not back down.
The more you play someone, the more familiar you become with their game. It's a constant chess match between the two, and we've seen it in their matchups, that have come since then. This is the first matchup. Novak wants to push Alcaraz a bit more off the baseline because we know how dangerous Carlos is when he's dictating play on the baseline and in the forecourt. Djokovic had to kind of acknowledge, the level that Alcaraz played was phenomenal. He brings a bit more of the shot making that we become accustomed to from a Roger or a Rafa.
That was special.
Hard to believe he was only 19 at this time. I think during this tournament he just turned 19, if I'm not mistaken.
A special talent wins a special match here in Madrid.
It's a really great show of sportsmanship at the net from both guys. I think this tournament in Madrid kind of showcased to the world that he's different because we had heard so much about him. Everyone knew that he was going to be, contending for Grand Slams. You just didn't know when. We hadn't seen a teenage Grand Slam champion in so many years. Personally, I didn't think that there would be another teenage Grand Slam champion on the men's side. I just thought the game had become too physical. I thought that you need a lot more experience.
He becomes the first player ever to defeat Nadal and Djokovic back-to-back on a clay court.
The entire world got put on notice that Carlos Alcaraz is going to be winning Grand Slams very, very soon.